It was all going so well for the Stags with 5 straight wins, but defeating midweek at league newcomers Sutton United means Clough's men need to find their bounce-back ability. With another long trip to Crawley Town tomorrow, followed by the FA Cup break, the Stags need to come together and figure out where this long old road will lead. With a lack of power up top on Tuesday, coupled with having Rawson and Forrester available at the back, the big question is, should Hawkins move back up front, or should he stay where he's been influential? Another question, as Black Friday hits us, is should Brother Clough, that's Simon by the way, be window shopping around for some fresh legs? And can Mansfield prove Tuesday to be a blip as they face Crawley in a mid-table battle tomorrow afternoon? As always, we want you to get involved and have your say on your team. This is the Mansfield Matters podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans. Because win, lose or draw, no matter how near or how far, Mansfield will always matter. All right, mid-table-ish. Let's go with that. Good evening, everyone. Hope that you're all right. Hope that you're doing well on this Friday night. A little bit different for you this week. It's been a busy old week for Mansfield Town, hasn't it? It's been a long, long road. But the question is, where will the long road lead us? That can be a tongue twister as well. Joining me, as always, to go through all of the week's action, to reflect on Tuesday night, to look ahead to tomorrow's long journey to Crawley, and much, much more in between, are my usual two comrades. Good evening to Clive Parkin.
Good evening.
And good evening to Mr. Nathan Quinn-Yester Edge.
Good evening, John Motson. Sorry, Craig Priest. How are we doing?
I'm all right, mate. I have got the sheepskin coat on order from Amazon in a Black Friday sale. For anyone that doesn't know, we'll do that later, because it's not about me, it's about Mansfield Town, because it's Mansfield Town that matters. It is a long old week, Clive, and on Tuesday, not the best of results for the Stags at Sutton United. The first time that we've been there, we're hoping to come away with a win, to make it 6 from 6, and then 3 minutes in, the Stags decide to give away a stupid goal, and alas, a 2-0 defeat.
Yeah, for the second game on the trot, we gave away an early goal. The difference was this time, when we did it before, we were playing against a team bottom of the league for a reason. And this time we're playing against a team that was nearer the top of the league for the reason. And they were a much stronger outfit than Scunthorpe. And they got us boxed up. They were better than us, I thought, on the evening, and therefore the result was fair. I think the biggest disappointment, as far as I'm concerned, not losing the game, because quite honestly, we're going to lose games, and you're going to lose games to better teams for the right reasons. I think it's we didn't trouble their goalkeeper throughout the night, and that's the disappointment for me.
Yeah, that's a big thing which Mansfield Town are going to have to work on, in the coming weeks, starting with Crawley tomorrow, Nathan. I guess it's something which, I said in the intro, we've been praising Ollie Hawkins for being a rock and steadying the ship at the back. But, as much as I've been saying that I want to leave him there and sort of get through to January and we can look at bringing somebody else in, it actually makes a lot more sense, doesn't it, to start him up the other end tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a few months back we were saying, he was clearly our best striker, and we moved him to the back because we had to, because we had nobody there. Well, we've got the roles reversed now, haven't we? We've actually got cover at the back in Forrester and Rawson, who can both come in and along there with John Joel too. So there's more than adequate cover for defence. So it seems a bit foolish to leave him there right now when we we're in need of somebody up top. So I'll be very, very, very disappointed come 2:00 tomorrow to not see him, on the team sheet as a striker. That's for sure.
Make sure you get your comments in and have your say on your team. It'll be a shorter one tonight, due to the fact of it being sort of Friday night, the evening before a game. We're just really sorry that we've not managed to have time this week to get together and have a little bit of a reflect on the week that's gone. Nigel in the comments says it was simply big lads versus boys. He's not wrong either, Clive, because at times we just didn't get hold of the ball, especially in that final third where, the Saturday previously at home to Scunthorpe, we were so effective.
Yeah, without wanting to become boring and repeating myself, though, there were two different teams we were playing. Scunthorpe gave us ground and we took it. And these lads from Sutton, these upstarts from lower league, have done one on us. A bit like, Harrogate did earlier in the season. They got our measure. And we didn't play as well. There's no question about that. We didn't play as well as we anticipated we would do.
Mark in the comments, Nath says nothing up front in my opinion. Again, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Because why are we so reliant? We were saying this months ago, but talking about the other end, when we were talking about James Perch and things like that. Why are we so reliant on one or two players? Rhys Oates out of the equation, Danny Johnson out of the equation, and all of a sudden there's very, very little there, if anything at all. Jordan Bowery is a try hard and works his socks off and tries, but the return isn't there for a striker of his experience, is it?
No, I mean he had a good game against Scunthorpe, but this was, as Clive pointed out, it was a different kettle of fish, and it from very early on in the game it was quite obvious that it wasn't coming off for him, it wasn't working. Unfortunately, there wasn't really much on the bench to maybe change it either, apart from maybe moving Hawkins up and being brave and maybe sacrificing that sort of the comfort that we've had in recent games. So, it unfortunately is affecting us having Rhys Oates out and Danny Johnson, and which has come at a bad time as well, because those two, especially Rhys Oates, was hitting a bit of form, which we was waiting for. So, we have taken a bit of a step backwards and in luck of injury wise. But I still feel like we've still got enough there to do something about it. But just not. I think we've got to move Hawkins up. I think that's the answer at the moment. Doesn't mean it's going to work 100%, but I think that's going to give us a better chance.
I can't remember who it was against, Clive, actually, a few weeks back when we were almost sort of sorted at the back, and then we did put Hawkins back up top for a game. In fact, it might have been Northampton where it didn't quite go as planned.
Yeah. Nothing went as well as planned at Northampton. That was the lowest point of our season in many respects. But I think we can only judge on recent performances, and quite honestly, he's earned his brownie points playing in the centre of the defence. But I think the time's come. I think we need to trust O'Toole alongside Faz and move him forward.
Even Bowery had a bash at a centre back in pre-season. So if we really want extra cover there, swap them two around if you really must. If he doesn't, but that. I don't think Rawson was doing pretty well. I mean, it's only the fact that O'Toole and Hawkins have kept him out, but it's not like he was poor before. The only reason he's been dropped out of the team was because obviously he had a baby, so it wasn't down to bad form. He's been good for quite a few months now. It doesn't make too much sense to me.
Can I correct you on one point there? It was his wife that had the baby, not him. There's no reason why you can't play football when your wife's had a baby.
That's fair point, yeah.
Maybe Farron Rawson isn't the exception that proves the rule.
This day and age, anything can happen, Clive. You
medical miracle, yeah, absolutely. Never rule anything out in this game. Talking of things which aren't very stable, I mentioned at the top off air to Clive and Nathan that I'd move my little studio around a little bit and move things around. Rookie error, because I nearly spilt my tea everywhere. When I tried to pick it up over the mic stand and knocked it everywhere. So, but it just goes to prove, though, Clive, the resistance and the endurance of the Mansfield Matters mugs, which didn't break at all. So
top quality merchandise.
Absolutely, 50% off Black Friday sale, by the way. Link in the description. Yes. Anyway, moving on. Moving swiftly on. Keep your comments coming in. Jamie says, we didn't look like a team who had won our last 5 games. Nick Nathan says, I think Maris needs a rest. O'Toole in the defensive midfield role with Rawson behind, Hawkins back up top. Problem there, though, is if you do that scenario, I mean, I do agree with it a fair bit. If you go with O'Toole in defensive midfield in front of the back 4 where of course, Maris has been playing, and then Rawson in O'Toole's position, and you move Hawkins back up top. Who are you putting alongside Rawson? Because I think Forrest is probably good value to come on for 10 minutes. But then who's at right back? Kel Gordon's not fit. James Clark's out on loan.
Well, it's going to be you then,
Met with silence.
Exactly. I think the silence of the answer, Nate, speaks volumes, doesn't it? Because we've almost got like a fit, but if as soon as we move one block, it's like playing Jenga. It's a risk.
I mean, I think there's enough in what we've got midfielder wise in the squad to be able to move midfielder without having to move O'Toole further up. You know, we know Sturt can go in sort of that more defensive role. You got Clark that can drop back there. You got Law on the bench, and I think there's plenty of players, midfielders in our team to be able to rest one or two when needed. So without having to affect too much else in other positions on the pitch. So if they need resting, do it. But for me, John Joe is doing a great job back there in defence and getting back there.
I can't come to terms with all this resting professional athletes. They're either good enough or they're bloody well not.
Clive's definitely from the old school of,
you used to play the whole game with a broken leg in my day.
It's true. It is true. The modern game has changed, though. But I'm going to go back to Nick's original point, though, Nath, and that was to actually talk about Maris. We went on a sidetrack about moving players here and there. Does Maris need a rest? Clough was relatively critical of him in a recent interview, wasn't he?
Yeah, but then the week before, a few days before, he got the sponsors man of the match in a game there where he didn't score. He just had a very solid game. So it's a tough one. I think there was a few players Tuesday night that had a very much off game, and it doesn't just necessarily lie at Maris's feet. Whether he's getting a bit tired and he needs a break, then that's a different. That's where you've then got to do a bit of shuffling around and a bit of resting and so on. But I don't know. I think he'll be okay. I think he just had an off game.
What about you, Clive? What have you made of Maris's recent performances? Obviously, you watched the live feed on Tuesday night in comparison to the game he had against Scunthorpe. What have you made of him recently? Because I think, like Nathan said earlier, I think there's a couple of players that could go in there to give him a rest.
If he's tired and therefore his game is suffering as a result of that, then they have to rest him or find a less demanding role for him. But the reality is, I'd struggled to find a man of the match from Tuesday night. So none of them were on particularly good form. And I like Maris's efforts. I think he brings a touch of class on the ball as well. But you're right, if he's not fit enough, he shouldn't be playing. And we're not exactly skint in the midfield department. So we can always plat 4 from 5, I'm sure of that.
What do you put it down to, Nath, the Tuesday night? Because, like somebody said in the comments earlier, I think it was Jamie actually who said, we didn't look like a team who'd won our last 5 games on Tuesday. And that's a fair reflection because like Clive said as well, I'd have struggled to name a man of the match.
Yeah, I'm with you too as well. It's very difficult to pick a positive out of Tuesday night, but I think we probably got to give a bit of credit and a bit of respect to Sutton. I know they have just come up, and we have a habit of not beating teams that have just come up for seems like forever. But bad habits aside, I think at the end of the day, Sutton are up there, and yes, they've had a bit of a blip recently, but they've still done a good job over a lot of teams in this league, and that wouldn't have been just good luck. They're clearly very hardworking. They pressed us very well and closed us down, and they stopped us from playing to a certain extent. I think if we had more tools to our armory, such as Rhys Oates and Danny Johnson, two to name, up top, which is where we really struggled, then we would have given them a better game. But they knew our weaknesses, and I just think they did a very good job on us. And you've got to sometimes give it to the opposition and say, well played, and we've got to move on and react now and make sure Crawley don't do the same to us.
Nigel says, versus Sutton, every time a Stags player got the ball, there was 2 or 3 players on them. Their work rate was incredible. Yeah, absolutely. I think I said in commentary that every time that we just couldn't get hold of it. We just could not keep hold of the ball in the final third and really struggled to get in the game. It was a cold, bitter, open to the elements night, but that shouldn't have mattered. Sutton were on their home turf. It was the same for both teams in terms of managing the conditions. And again, we just can't keep hold of it, and we can't play like that and allow teams to come at us. Yes, their work rate was incredible, but I actually didn't feel like ours was there too much. I was actually a little bit perplexed, actually, Clive, by what Nigel Clough said post-match. I don't want to rip into him and give it a scathing review, but I just felt that, if we'd have probably scored the goal through Ollie Hawkins after their opening goal, we may well have taken a point from the game, but we didn't really have enough chances to bring it on and to sort of get back in the game. And I actually felt pretty much from maybe the hour mark onwards that it was Sutton's game to lose.
Yeah, ifs and buts don't count for anything in this world. What did count is they had big players on the field, and they were big players with big hearts, and they didn't give us any room. I don't think we were as up for it as they were. I think that just about sums it up, in my opinion. And I just think that we put it behind us. I have to say, my prediction at the beginning of the 5-game run was that I wanted us to get 10 points. We're in line for that if we get a draw on Saturday. And I think that's a good return, given where we were starting from. So I don't think there's any reason for us to get despondent at this point. Disappointed, of course, because once you've done 5 on the run, you want the 6th. But just quickly talking about Clough, because you mentioned it, Craig, I was going to hold my tongue. But he's at it again, isn't he? He's calling out players again in the media.
Who did he call out?
Tyrese Sinclair, for one.
Oh, yeah.
The commentator says, when Tyrese came on, he brought a bit of fresh energy to the team, and just when it was needed. And he quickly retorted by saying, it just missed. I think one day I should just have to have a word with Mr. Clough and say, of course, you're an ex-pro and played in the highest level, and therefore you can see standards for what they are, and I respect that. And you were good enough in your heyday to play for England. In fact, you had 14 full international appearances for England. Nigel,
you love that.
How many goals did you score in those 14 games?
Absolutely loves that stat.
No. Listen, he's the manager for a reason. He's better at the job than we are. I just don't. I'm not going to go on this. I just don't agree with the way he calls players out at times.
Are you going to retract his mug?
Do you know? While I'm still having a go, we gave some mugs to people. We gave some mugs to people at the club. I've delivered 6 mugs individually addressed to various people at the club, and 5 of those people have responded by thanking us and even putting stuff on media. Guess who didn't?
I mean, to his defence, he doesn't have Twitter or anything, does he? Like, you got to give him a bit of credit. It's quite.
All he has to say is to the club secretary, just say thank you on my behalf, would you? Anyway.
I mean, like I say, it's old school. You might get some sort of carrier pigeon one day. Just give it time, Clive. Give it time.
Exactly. You're going to get a letter in the post. We're going to get a letter, or like one of the press conferences, it will just come randomly. Clough will be sat there, at the RH Academy having his drink, and it'll just be a Mansfield Matters mug, and nothing will be mentioned about it. We'll just see it, and we'll just
thank you enough. That would.
Listen, I don't give anybody gifts expecting them to be thankful. That's not the
clearly you do. You just
That's not the art of giving, but the art of receiving is a different thing.
I think it's been rumbled here.
Yeah, I think we've got him. Oh dear. So it's basically, but what you're saying is anybody that gets a Christmas present from you this year has to send you a full-on video message saying, "Thank you, Mr. Parkin, for the delightful gift, which was this, and this, and I'm going to use it for this, and this." Is that what you're saying?
If we do Secret Santa as a podcast, please hope
because I don't give anybody Christmas presents.
Oh, well, you're going to have to this year, mate. Because
where's the spirit of giving there?
Secret. So yeah, you've just got on about the spirit of giving.
Yeah.
Now you're saying you don't want her to get into the spirit of giving. She don't want to take part in Secret Santa.
It wasn't a personal thing. I just think when people are giving stuff, they shouldn't do it for any other reason. If they want the person to have it and enjoy it, whatever it is. I just think then it's beholden on the receiver to acknowledge that. And that's just old school etiquette.
Right, shall we get back to the Mansfield Matters, not gifts don't matter to Clive?
I'm drinking out my Mansfield Matters mug now.
Oh dear. Speaking of giving things away, Nath, we gave away 2 goals, and 2 goals which were a disappointing one. Do you see what I did there? It's almost like I've been back in Radio Land, so I've got them in my head. We gave away 2 poor goals from a defensive point of view. The first one more frustrating than the other. The second one, the catch is over the top, and we're just a little bit flat-footed like we were all night. But the first one in particular, we deal with the initial free kick, but then we don't close down the second phase of play. The ball comes in from the same position, free header at the back post, free shot in the middle, very, very poor goal to concede. And you think with the height and experience we've got in our side defensively from set plays, we should be doing a lot better than that. And what worries me, Nath, is Crawley are a good side attacking from set pieces, and if we're not on it, they will get goals.
Well, I said this last week, even against Scunthorpe. I said every game we give a minimum of 1 free header away. It's a guarantee. I guarantee if you go back through the matches of what we've played recently, and you'll find 1 free header at some point, whether it's from a corner or a free kick or even a cross from open play. There's 1 in there. It's then just down to a matter of whether the opposition are good enough to take it. Sutton did. The most frustrating thing for me was the fact that it was 3 minutes in. So we've a bit like a bit like Scunthorpe, apart from the fact that, again, like pointed out earlier by Clive, we're against a different opposition that are much better at holding a lead than obviously what Scunthorpe are, because the table tells you that. But we just made it very difficult for ourselves, and whether we just came out half expecting a win, I don't know. Did we go out there with a little bit of thinking, this will all fall into place, because it has done the last 5 games, and took a foot off the gas at the very beginning? Is there an element of that? Possibly. But yeah, it's disappointing when you've got, it's not like we're a small side back there. We've got Hawkins, John Joe O'Toole, Hewitt and McLaughlin. All of them should be pretty decent in the air to defend in the defensive area. So it's disappointing that we're still giving those opportunities away.
Speaking of Maris, Alan says in the comments, Clive, other teams work us out, keep Maris quiet, and Mansfield do struggle. If they start brightly, it's a different game. That's very much been the case. I think he's nailed it head on there, to be fair. When we start on the front foot, we do look difficult to beat, and we look like we're going to give somebody a good hiding and come away with a good result. But if we concede that first goal and we don't get playing straight away through Maris and through that midfield area, we do struggle, and we lack the ideas and sometimes the options from the bench to change it up.
Yes, and it's even more acute when we haven't got, if you like, a recognised strike pair, because they can normally pick up scraps and work with them. We're having to develop good football to get into a position to score goals, and Maris is essential to get those moves on the way. So I think Alan makes a very good point. If you lock him out of the game, it makes a big difference to our ability.
Let's move on to other things this week. Final comment on that from Gary. Says, Scunthorpe were nearly 2 up after 20 minutes. We were struggling at times the first 20 minutes versus Scunny. Yeah, I think if they'd have got a goal, it could have been a different game. Obviously they did. They got the penalty, but fortunately we had enough about us to get back in that one. If they'd have got another after that, when they had that chance, didn't they, actually? If they'd have got that, it would have been a different game entirely. But let's move on. I had a message earlier from Jim, who unfortunately says he couldn't watch the live feed tonight, but we'll watch it back. And he was asking about Tyree Sinclair. Obviously, you mentioned him a little bit earlier, Clive, that Nigel Clough was highlighting him again. And Jim's basic question was, obviously, James Clark has gone out on loan in this week. He's gone to Solihull Moors, I believe it is, to get some experience. Good for him. Played and I think got an assist as well. Made an impact straight away. Jim was basically asking, should we do the same with Tyree Sinclair? Because clearly we're not starting him. We're not giving him the game time that he needs to develop. So should we look to send him out? It's a very, very difficult one for me, Clive, because if you take him out of the equation and take him away from the squad, we're very, very threadbare as it is up top.
No, we can't afford to let him go out. he is definitely the person you go to when you need to strengthen or change the structure, or to add a little bit of energy in the second half of the game. But I mean, he would argue, I'm sure, that he would play better football if he started a game. I think there's some evidence to suggest that's true. But to bring him on and he's under pressure straight away to bring something to the game, you're inevitably not going to see the best out of the lad. And I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of Sinclair. So I think he's not quite the full package at the moment. But and I think come with a close season, he may well disappear somewhere. But at the moment, if you're going to use him in the way that we are using him, you've got to treat him with a bit more respect.
Yeah, you certainly have. Lots of interesting ones on Tyree Sinclair, Nath, as well. He does need to try and develop. He does need to try and get a bit of game time under his belt, but it's a very difficult one to do. I actually thought this season might have been his, but whenever he's been given the opportunity, it's not quite worked out for him, has it? I mean, especially the way he ended last season.
Yeah, I mean, do we put a bit too much expectation on him as well as supporters? It could be a little bit of an element of that, and at times he has shown glimpses that you think he could really become a really good player, but it's not quite worked out for him a lot of the times this season. But then I don't remember if it's Tuesday night or Saturday. Oh, there's a game recently where he came on and he did affect it. He won a lot of sort of free kicks and he got us. He did have a positive impact. So I don't think he's quite ready to start games. But then at the same hand, you kind of think for him to develop, he probably needs a little bit longer. So maybe we need to be a bit braver, making that sub a little bit earlier and giving him the opportunity. But it's a tough one, isn't it? Because if he's not quite ready, then how do you get him ready? Is it loading him out? But we can't, like you say, we can't do that because we're already threadbare up there again as it is.
Yeah, it's a confidence thing more than anything, isn't it, Clive? If he does get a couple of goals under his belt and starts getting a bit of a run and a bit of a bit more minutes in the tank, he may start to blossom a little bit more. But I think the longer it goes on and he's getting 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, the more his confidence is going to be a shot. And he's very much a young confidence player.
Yeah, I thought in the last few games of last season, we were starting to see a proper player emerge, and he was given the pitch time to do that. But nothing's developed since. But you could argue that he hasn't been given the full chance to do it. He's had a few games that he could play the whole 90 minutes in, but generally speaking, he's been brought on as a very late substitute. And I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to work out that he's just not favoured.
Would you favour him over Jordan Barry right now, both of you? If it was a choice between the two, who would you put in?
It would depend what format you play, because Jordan Barry does bring something to the game, although it doesn't satisfy a lot of the media warriors out there because it's work rate rather than end product. But I don't know. I think
or both,
as a flat question, yes, I would put Sinclair in instead of Bowery at the moment.
Are you going to sit on the fence as well there, Craig?
No, I'm going to say I would favour him because I think he's got more to offer than what Barry has. I do like Barry as a player. I think he's a workhorse. I think he's got the quality and the experience to help us out. But let's be brutally honest, when Rhys Oates and Danny Johnson come back in, he's going to fall back down the pecking order. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him move on in January. I think Sinclair has got a little bit more pace and energy about him. And to be honest, we were crying out for that on Tuesday night a little bit. I was actually surprised that he didn't get a start. I was very surprised that we didn't make changes. I understood why we didn't, because obviously we won on Saturday, but given the distance we had to travel and the fact we've got another game this weekend where we're travelling again, I would have freshened things up, especially given how Sutton play. I was very surprised that we perhaps didn't see Sinclair start on that left-hand side of midfield and give us that energy going forward. So actually, for me, Nath, yeah, I would start him over Bowery, mainly because I think he's got a little bit more. But I do agree slightly with what Clive says. It is down to the system because, like we were saying earlier, last year when he was blossoming and developing, we were playing a system which very much suited him. This year, we've changed systems more times than we've changed our underpants on a daily basis. So we haven't found it.
We can complain about that because we have been calling for a change of system. So, I don't think we can quite, as supporters, complain about that changing too much.
No, I agree with that. But I think when you've got a young player, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be changing it, because I've been the one that's saying that we needed to change it. I just think you've got to find something which fits them sometimes, and you've got to develop them in that way. Very much like James Clark in a way. You know, obviously he's not getting in at the moment, and it's clear that Nigel Clough didn't really fancy him when he was sort of saying we had two young fullbacks, when he was referring to him and Burke. It was inevitable that he'd go out and get some game time, and also inevitable that when he's out in that game time, Sean would shine in a position in a team which is set up the way that he can play, like he's doing at Solihull. He's only had one game, but he's made an instant impact. The fans love him already. It's good for his development. Sinclair either needs that or needs to be given that here, and it's the problem we have is the fact that we can't do it here. We can't afford to let him go because we haven't got the players to step in and replace him. But we also can't do it here at risk of, falling back down the table and not getting to where we need to be. So it's a very, very difficult one to pose. What about you, Nath? Answer your own question.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. But I'd put him up there over Barry at the moment. But you would have to get support. That's a big thing as a lone striker. It's a lot to put on a player like him. So maybe him up there with Hawkins, because the one thing that would have changed the game for us, a bit like I was saying, if we had Oates available, for example, on Tuesday night, when a team's pressing you like they were, your next option is to then try and go in behind. And we're never going to do that with Jordan Bowery up there. It wasn't an option. So you need something up there to, with a bit of pace. So like I say, Rhys Oates would be the number one, but if not, Tyree Sinclair or can go in and do that sort
Nathan,
of role.
would you play Rhys Oates alongside Sinclair as a duo strike force?
Well, we've not really seen that, have we? I don't know, maybe if it worked, but so far we've tended to go on when possible to go for sort of the big man, aren't you? Hawkins to knock it down to either Oates or Johnson. That's where we started off with the season. That's how I envisioned Clough to carry on when everybody's available. But that's just not an option, really, is it? Well, it hadn't been an option. It could be again now if he moves Hawkins back up.
Yeah, we almost had to go through another pre-season, didn't we? After we, lost them games and then lost James Perch. It's an interesting one to try and find where we're at again. I actually felt the other week, when we were at Sunderland, when we went with the five in midfield and Oates as the lone striker, I felt we found it then because we sort of started to, galvanise ourselves and look a little bit brighter once again. But it's very, very difficult. I do actually like the idea of Hawkins going back up top with somebody pacey running off him, whether that be Oates or Sinclair in the future. But again, we can't quite do it because if you then move Hawkins back up top, going back to what we said at the top of the show, a new partnership has to be created at the back with O'Toole and or Rawson or Forrester. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and a partridge in a pear tree. Gary in the comments says, Tyrese has raw talent but looks short of finishing ability on dead balls. Shows glimpses, but is he ready to start? William says he is. He says, I'd start Sinclair completely. David says, I'd play myself in front of Bowery. Take your boots to Crawley tomorrow then, son. And Nigel says, another name which has been out of favour. Jason Law seems to be out of favour too. Did well last season. Yeah. Another one, Clive, which, again, system hasn't quite favoured him. Jason Law seems to be able to play anywhere. He's played left back, left wing back, left side midfield, centre mid, up top. It's finding a place for him. And you know what? I'm actually surprised that he's not gone out on loan either, because he's not really got game time. Although he did play in the under-21s in the cup, in the not senior cup on Wednesday night against Rainworth, a 1-0 win.
No, I don't think we can keep letting all of our potential substitutes out on loan. But I have to say, if I was one of the lower league teams looking to take a player on loan from Mansfield, I'd be delighted to get hold of Law. I think he's a great player.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of different options, doesn't it? We'll come on to podcast predictions very, very shortly indeed as we look ahead to tomorrow's trip to Crawley. First, though, let's move to news elsewhere. Let's move to news off the pitch. Mansfield Town are delighted to announce that former goalkeeper Ian Deakin is our new commercial executive. Ian played for the Stags from July 2013 to August 2014 and was a popular member of the first team squad. Since retiring as a goalkeeper, the 34-year-old has enjoyed an extensive career within sales and business development. Ian spent 10 years working as a technical sales manager in the industry, commercial and automotive industry as well. since he's retired and what have you. On joining the Stags in his new role, he said, "I want to work with local businesses in and around Mansfield. It's a great town and it's got good people in it. People work hard in this town and we appreciate all the sponsorship that comes in and the support the fans give us. I want to help elevate the club and as high as possible, and I'm working hard to do that." He's already begun work in his new role, securing sponsorship for the new scoreboard. And he adds, "We've brought in some new sponsorship for the scoreboard this week and the signs will be going up before the Carlisle game. The new scoreboard is brilliant. It looks impressive and is a tool I can utilise. I know the fans have been wanting it for a long, long time. The chairman continues to back the club by installing that. It's part of the jigsaw. You would love everything at the club to be all singing or dancing and new, but it has to come as part of a jigsaw puzzle and we will continue to develop on and off the field. It's my role to make sure that development happens and to make sure we build those links." Saying all the right things, Nath, isn't he? Early doors, and also great to hear that sponsorship's been secured for that scoreboard, which will make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, and I'm sure things will bubble away and grow nicely in the future. He's got big shoes to fill, though.
Yeah, I mean, welcome back to Ian. But yeah, obviously Paul Nyland been at the club for a very long time as first as a volunteer, and then as he finally as a commercial manager. Well, I can't remember the title, but you know what I mean. So he has got big shoes to fill. But it'll take time to come in. It's a bit like this whole scoreboard thing that we said. It's a baby, isn't it, at the minute, and things will change as time goes on. But it's great to see that he's getting stuck in already, and hopefully, hopefully if the team can progress on the pitch a little bit, it'll help make his job a little bit easier as well. They kind of go hand in hand together, don't they?
Yeah, they do. What do you make of it, Clive? Obviously, the scoreboard's in place. Nice to see him working away on that and developing partners. It's a new angle for Mansfield to go down. It will give us, something to revitalise us a little bit and sort of adapt to the modern way of being a football club, and that's in the digital world as much as the physical world.
Well, off the playing staff, it's a very important role that he's taken on. Paul did a great job, I thought.
Absolutely.
But everybody has their day, and he wanted to move on to do something else. And yes, we need to move away from having all those hoardings on the defunct side of the ground and get a little bit more sophisticated, both in front of our main supporters and trying to sell some signage on the other side in front of camera as well. Most of the smaller clubs have now got those pitch side digital screens, and maybe that's something we might be able to get into as well. But of course, the other thing the club's got is conference and banqueting facilities. They need to be sold. We just need to recover, like every other club, from what we've had to go through for the last couple of years. And it isn't an overnight thing. It's building blocks.
Yeah, from a business perspective, Nath, that's something we've perhaps forgot about because we've been so happy to get back to normal, in inverted commas, to being able to go to games and seeing fans flocking on a match day. But we've not quite thought about that a lot. Obviously, Sandy's is ticking over, but I've been in some evenings where there's literally been only 2 or 3 people in. They've obviously taken the decision to close on a Monday and what have you. And we've said numerous times on the pod as well about the match day experience, and perhaps that's something that he can maybe indirectly help to sell and help to improve.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing with football clubs, isn't it? It's in the past they get used sort of 23 times out of the year, which is what you then got it sat there doing nothing for a lot of the year, and so it's about making the most of the assets. And obviously we've got the fabulous 1861 suite and the Kevin Bird suite, and obviously Sandys, and obviously the 3G pitch, and it's about utilising all of them. But obviously we've had COVID, so that's recovering. People have got to get the confidence to come back out and back into the routine of doing that sort of stuff. I mean, we had a soul night at the 1861 suite the other week for guide dogs, and we managed to get that all completely fully booked up, and hopefully they took a decent amount on the bar that night. But that's the sort of events that they need to get back in there. They used to do the Hoofers Comedy Club, so seeing that return would be nice one day. But it's a bit like he said in his press conference. It's a jigsaw, and things build over time. So, and that'll be his job to get that sort of revitalised again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome back to the club, Ian, and good luck for all things in the future. And if you need a business to try and target, I think there's certainly one in Hermitage Lane way, Nath. I don't know what it's quite called. It's a bit woof.
Yeah, it's very wolf,
Dog
isn't
wolf.
it? And yeah, a few cats hanging about there. You know how it is.
Well, you're having cats now as well. What's going on there?
No, there's not. I had a phone call the other day. Obviously answered it. Hello, Mansfield Doggy Daycare. Hi,
Do you take cats?
Do you take cats? No, sorry.
Clues in the title, love. Clues in the title.
Yeah.
Roy says in the comments, could they not get back to the evening with whoever? Now, this is a very important point, Roy. This is very, very important because
Well
obviously,
asked, Roy. Well asked.
well asked, well started. Obviously, we've done our podcasts, which have been, stag stories, and we absolutely love doing stag stories. But from a production point of view and from a planning point of view, they are very, very difficult to get sorted. Trying to nail down a player, a time when everybody can do it, and doing the research and everything behind it is very, very difficult. And I know that the original evening withs back in Sandy's back in the day were all done by the club's media department on top of their, current jobs, their full-time roles, which they had to work on. And it is sometimes a full-time job just trying to do that. So I understand why they didn't happen and why they stopped for a bit and why they've not come back, because it's fair to say, Clive, isn't it, that some are more popular than others.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I think there's the whole thing about putting things like that on is you won't always get it right, but you won't get anything right unless you start again. And I'd love to see a monthly event down there aimed at the fans' integration, aimed at the fans' participation. It's what they want, and if I'm wrong, they'll dry up and they'll stop doing them. But I think there's a clamour now for that sort of interactivity at the club.
And I'll say this now, and I'll say it on record. I've said it, privately to people in the past as well, but I'll say it now. If that's something that we, as a podcast, could help with in terms of presenting that, helping to book guests and things like that, we'd be more than happy to do that, because we have got a list of guests. I've got a board behind me, actually, of people that I'm having conversations with, and sorry about that, not my microphone. People that I put it in the wrong place, didn't I? People that we're having conversations with, people that would love to come and do something, whether that be over a Zoom link or whatever, stream to an audience or put together a panel of a couple of people. I would 150,000 million bazillion percent be happy for us to do that, and for the club to obviously then just help us out in terms of the marketing, sharing it through their social media channels, which has got a far wider reach than what ours has. We're no illusions about that. And then for that to happen, and then obviously they make the money on the bar and stuff like that. So if that's something which you guys would like to see, please let us know, and please let them know as well. We'd be more than happy to do that. But please understand that it's not just a case of saying, right, these guys will do it and then it's done. It's a longer process than that, which we've been trying to get sorted for a long time. So hopefully, who knows, we may have to send an introductory email, or even better, you know what we need to send, Clive?
Yes, a mug.
Only if you get a thank you, because otherwise
I've already earmarked one for their new marketing executive, so that's fine. Just going back to the point on a sensible note, I mean, the club is one, if you like, one element of what the community is, and the community consists of the organisation and the fans. You could argue it's the fans that's always the most important in these things, and I would disagree. We have an opportunity, I reckon, where the club can help facilitate people like ourselves and the SSA to put on events which are fan-focused, not there to destroy the club, there to support and build the club. And obviously also put money through the tills.
Yeah, I mean, we're not asking for like players every week. We're not asking for like Clough to come down and whatever. It mainly would be ex-players, and sometime maybe a quiz night or something for charity. Something where we can work together and, like you say, bring that community together. And it's something the SSA wants to do. It's something we're looking to do with them, but it is just a long process. And hopefully now that the new guys in place, Ian, hopefully maybe we might be able to sort something like that out. Unfortunately, I would love to sit and talk about that and bat ideas around all night long, but time is against me, and we must move on to podcast predictions in a second. Crawley tomorrow, Nath. Another long journey, 3.5 hours there, 3.5 hours back. Hopefully we'll be coming back with 3 points in hand. But our away form hasn't been too good this season. We need to make sure that we ensure that Tuesday night's defeat and result is just a blip on the paper.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? It's if you actually look at it, home games or away games, we only won one away game all season, and that was Stevenage, wasn't it? So, it's not very good read in that aspect. I'm a little less confident as I was a couple of last week, obviously, after the defeat of Sutton. But then, like Clive said earlier, when we were looking at the fixtures as a group, Sutton was the one that I did think we'd slip up at. It happened to be the case. It's now about reacting, and hopefully we've got enough. Hopefully it's shown Clough our weaknesses a little bit. And now it's going to make him change it, because we know he likes to keep it the same, doesn't it? When we win, so we haven't won, so there's no excuse to keep it as it was. So hopefully we'll do that now and go down there with a bit of hunger in our belly again to put it back right and get back on another winning way.
Well, the Stags boss, Clive Clough, says that Rhys Oates has a loose chance of featuring against Crawley after missing the last 2 games with the groin injury. Midfielder George Lapsley returned to the matchday squad against Sutton and came off the bench. It was the first appearance since he did his shoulder against Stevenage, so I guess he'll carry on to be assessed. Kel Gordon also missed Tuesday night after a knock to his knee in training. He'll be assessed before Saturday. Obviously, the team will have travelled now as well. They will have travelled today, so he will have been assessed before today. Also, likewise with Stephen Quinn. So with that in mind, it could see a reshuffle to the pack, but what are you going to go with? You're the current leader of the Podcast Predictions League, so I'm going to come to you first for your prediction, Clive.
For the first time, 0-0 draw.
Ooh, okay. There you go. Nathan, I'm going to come straight to you.
0-0 draw reminds me of that Tuesday night a couple of seasons ago, and I went all the way down there for a 0-0 draw.
Oh yeah.
Oh, lovely. I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna back us to bounce back. I'm gonna go for a 2-1 victory.
Goal scorers.
Ollie Hawkins, because he's going to back up front if he's not turning it off. Because I'll be watching by the stream, or should I say listening. Who's going to be playing, isn't it? I'm still going to go. Charles Lee is going to put one in the back of the net at some point. I'm going to go with him again. I'm backing him.
You've got to, haven't you? You've got to. It's going to be narrow. We've not won there for a long time, since I think 2016 was the last time we won there. We very rarely get a good result there. And do you know what? I'm also going to go for a draw, but I am going to go for a score draw. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. They will score. We'll give them a set piece. We'll give them away a silly goal, but we'll also concede from a set piece. But I think we'll have goals in us. And also, I'm going to choose exactly the same goal scorers as Nathan, mainly because I can't be bothered to think of other ones, but also because I think he's right. I think Hawkins will go back up front. He'll bag. Even if he doesn't go up front, he nearly bagged from centre half anyway. He's capable of it. And Charlesley will pop one in from about 40 yards or off his kneecap, whichever one of the two. So I'm going to go with the same goal scorers. So there you go. Fingers crossed, though, we do bounce back. Obviously, a nice bit of a rest next week. Finally, though, Clive, before we wrap things up this evening, the one thing that we need to ensure is how important is being able to bounce back and getting a positive result from Crawley. I think a draw would be a positive result given our recent run. Even better for a win, though.
Absolutely. That goes without saying. Anything other than a defeat. But yes, I think you're right. I think there is the capability of beating Crawley. I'm being overcautious, I think, with my 0-0 draw. But because I'd said at the beginning of this little accountancy period I wanted 10 points, that will fulfil that if we get a draw. So, but I'd be quite happy with a 6-6 draw.
Hello.
Have we got gremlins?
No, it helps. It helps if I turn my microphone.
Oh, there we go.
I was going to say, if we draw 6-6, Nath, that'd be absolutely mad, wouldn't it?
I mean, entertainment value would be there, I suppose, wouldn't it? But you'd also be very. I wouldn't want to be listening to Clough's interview at the end if you're a defender. That's for sure. But
True.
Yeah. Are we triple pointing it this week? You know, because it's the last game of the month, or
No,
do we not have that blessing?
no, we don't know.
You've got to do it every month, because otherwise that means the one player's been able to capitalise as the one sat at the top of the table. It's not consistent, is it? Consistency.
Right.
Come on, I'm trying to help you out, folks at home.
Right, fine. Triple point weekend. I'll sort it after this.
Come on.
I'll sort it after this.
Well, I want to do a new score draw. A new.
Here we
forecast.
go. Here we go.
No, you can't. No. Right. Tell you what we'll do. Right. To make it fair, because Clive will complain that he wants to change his score. What we will do is we're not going to do a triple point for this one. We will do a triple point for the next one. I know it will be in December, the midweek game against Carlisle, but we'll do it for then. All right, and then we'll do one at the end of the month as well. Is that all right?
Fine. But if it ends up being 2-1 against Crawley, tables will be flipping.
Well, there you go. Also, by the way, you mentioned a 6-all draw. I would personally love a 6-all draw tomorrow, because I'm back behind the microphone. I'm going to be doing full match commentary again on Mansfield 103.2. Make sure you tune into Sports Beat with Jason Harrington from 2 o'clock. I stepped into the breach on Tuesday night. Steve-O, unfortunately, out of action for now. So I've stepped in to the breach, going back to my roots. It's been a long time. I sent Nathan a few clips. You asked me to get a few words in, didn't you, Nath?
Yeah, well done. You managed to nicely slot in galvanised, solidified, and one of us, which wasn't even on the list. You just put it in there.
Rigidified.
No, I didn't get rigidified in there.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that at all.
What's happened to the picture, Craig?
Well, I've swapped things because I was wrapping up the show and I can't be bothered to turn my other camera on, because then you'll see the names that are on the board.
Can I very quickly compliment the Stags fans that trekked all the way down on Tuesday on a bitterly cold night. The best part of 300 people there was astonishing, really. And as of today, we've sold nearly all of the Doncaster tickets, including
not talking about that game.
Shut up, you. All of the we're going to end up with the best part of 3,500 fans at the Keep Moat, or whatever it's now called, on the 4th of December. Credit to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly credit to them, and well done to those who made it on Tuesday night. If you can't get tomorrow, make sure you join me on Mansfield 103.2 for full match commentary. Nathan, Clive, obviously, Nathan, you gave me a couple of words to slot in on commentary. Obviously the keywords on Tuesday. Two more. I want two from each of you, please. Nathan, I'll give you the words first.
What a goal by Ollie Hawkins.
No, that's not a word, is it? It's got to be a word.
A word. Come on. All right.
Because what a goal by Ollie Hawkins is going to happen. So just give me a word. Come on.
I haven't got any, so I was happy with galvanised and solidified. So
right, I'll just slip them in. I'll put them in again. Then, yeah, shall I?
Just all I want is galvanised. It's just the one word. I'm happy with that.
All right, Clive. What about you? Don't go anything too daft though.
Consolidation.
Oh, that's a good one. Consolidate. Yeah, consolidation. Yeah.
And it obviously has to be in context as well, Craig. You know.
Of course it'll be. Yeah, I'm not just going to reel them off. I will put them in context.
It comes to 90 minutes and the game's over. Consolidation. And we'll see.
And you'll be pleased to know I've booked my holidays. I'm going to consolidation.
Yeah, exactly. Clive, what's your second word?
Fantastic.
Right. Challenge.
Crawley have been fantastic today.
Yeah,
fantastic consolidation from Mansfield's midfield.
Fantastic consolidation of a solidified Mansfield town defence who really galvanised their team today. See, it can be done and it will be done. Make sure you join me on Mansfield 103.2 tomorrow. If you go into the game, I will prove that I have got these words in commentary on Sunday on the Sunday sermon. For now, though, my thanks to Nathan and to Clive, who will be back, of course, on Sunday. That, though, is all we've got time for on today's show. Thanks very much for joining us. Where will this long road lead is the question. Well, tomorrow it will lead to Crawley. But when we come back, will we have 3 points on board? Join us for reaction, win, lose or draw on Sunday, the Sunday sermon from the new time of 7 p.m. Make sure you join us for that. And join us in the week as well next week as we look ahead to the FA Cup. For now, though, that's all you've got time for. Make sure you grab your Black Friday deals. 50% off a Mansfield Matters mug. Link in the description. And tune in to Mansfield 103.2 from 2 o'clock tomorrow to hear me get galvanised, solidified, consolidation and fantastic into the commentary, where hopefully the Stags will be galvanised, will be solidified, will have consolidation and will bring a fantastic 3 points home. It can be done. It will be done. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Good night.